Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Full Throttle Finance, a financial literacy podcast that's geared towards taking complex financial topics and breaking them down into fun, relatable discussions. My name is Felicia, and I am your CEO at Clean Bee Consulting. And today, I'm bringing you our very first solo podcast episode because Allison is out on vacation. I do have a cute little puppy over here, but we'll see how long she sticks around because she doesn't like to hear my voice talk sometimes. So I figured with Allison out this week that this might be the perfect opportunity for me to have a one-on-one discussion with our small business owner listeners out there. And it would be the perfect time to tackle a topic that often intimidates even the most seasoned of business owners that I have worked with in my time in this industry. That's called payroll. So before you go and tune out and think that this doesn't apply to you, or maybe that you're not big enough to have to worry about payroll, I want to challenge you to try and shift your mindset for the next 15 minutes. Because I'm going to walk you through how thinking about payroll differently can actually unlock growth and sustainability in your own business or in your own program. So let's start by breaking down what payroll really is and what it is not. Payroll isn't just a consistent paycheck every 2 weeks, and it certainly isn't just for six-figure earners or high-dollar salaries. At its core, payroll is defined by the agreements that you create. That's right. It's all about clarity, really. Clear expectations, documented roles, and a mutual understanding between the business and the individual as to what's expected. Whether that's part-time, an hourly employee, or a full-time salaried team member, it's about what's been agreed upon in writing and how that agreement aligns with both the state and federal labor laws that are in place. And yes, you can start small. In fact, I did. When I first considered hiring, I had to ask myself a very hard question. Do I even want to manage employees? That's all I'd really known for my entire professional career. And it had been really nice not having to worry about it for a while, let's be honest. But in reality, I was hitting a wall. I'd plateaued and I was working way more hours than I wanted to. And I realized that it wasn't sustainable. Something really did have to change. The shift in mindset for me was that I had to remind myself that I had the control this time around. I was in charge of the training. I was in charge of the support for the employee. And instead of looking at it as a chore, managing others is what I've always done, I started to look at the situation as an opportunity for me to create my ideal workplace while strategizing my own personal income taxes simultaneously because of how our consulting firm is structured at its core. I drew on a lot of parallels with Formula One teams. When you look at a Formula One team, they work together so cohesively as a team with all of these intricate parts. But that is only because each team is made up of all of these amazingly talented individuals that excel in very specific tasks. Everyone has a job. Everyone understands what the expectations are of them to complete said job. They have the tools and resources to complete that job. And it doesn't need to be verbally communicated to them regularly, right? Everyone understands what needs to happen when it needs to happen. And, when I thought about it, that is really the kind of employee that I wanted to manage. And so if that is what I wanted, then those were the systems and those were the processes that I needed to develop. When I hired Allison, it was to start at 10 hours a week. It was meant to be light and manageable for both of us, but in reality, it wasn't enough. Allison was working full-time still with another employer, and she was trying to juggle this role on top. And it's not that she wasn't doing it well, but I could see as a manager that the strain was not fair to her. And really, I wasn't able to hand off enough of the tasks on my own plate that lightened my load either. And so in reality, our business was still throttled at that point. So that's when we pivoted and we made the decision to bring her on full time at a 32-hour per week role, not 40. And that was intentional. But it was a clear hourly role with a healthy rate. In a past job, I had been promised a 32-hour salaried role that never came to life. And it was always spun back on me, and I felt that it was very manipulative. And I didn't want that for Allison. I wanted transparency, I wanted clarity, I wanted commitment, and I wanted her to show up in those ways. I wanted her to embody those core values. And I knew that if I wanted her to embody them, then I needed to lead by example and implement them and make that part of my culture here at the Clean Bee Consulting firm and through the Full Throttle Finance program. So this agreement at 32 hours a week at an hourly rate, it gave me something that I could budget for, and it gave me something that I could design manageable workflows for us both. And that right there is the power of payroll when it's done correctly. Now, let's talk dollars. There is no doubt that having payroll comes with extra costs, especially when you compare it to contracting with an independent contractor, right? An employee on payroll, you're going to have monthly payroll fee processing fees. You're going to have FICA taxes, which are the Medicare and Social Security taxes that you owe as an employer on employee earnings. You're going to have state unemployment insurance. You're going to have workers' comp insurance. And then depending on your state, you might even have some other employment programs like paid family medical leave that you have to contribute to as well. But here's the thing. These aren't extra costs. They are the cost of doing business. You have to spend money in order to earn money. And if you want to build a sustainable program, that starts with the people that you have in the roles doing the work tied to your organization and making sure that they are categorized correctly in the proper worker classification. You wouldn't take a race bike out on the track without investing in the right tires for the machine. Payroll is the same way. It is foundational. And when you categorize your workers correctly, employees versus independent contractors, you're protecting your business and you're protecting your people. And if you're not sure where to start, here's my advice. Start small. Any amount of hours per week counts as payroll as long as it is defined, it is agreed upon, and it is in alignment with state and federal labor laws. Build a reserve. A good rule of thumb is to have 3 to 4 payroll cycles of reserve funds saved in advance so that you have a backup plan on a rainy day. And communicate clearly. Outline your expectations in writing and make sure that both sides understand what is expected of them in that role. And remember, payroll isn't just a compliance item. It is a tax strategy. Every dollar that you spend on legitimate payroll is a deductible expense for your business organization and your race team program. And adding benefits like tech reimbursements and healthcare or PTO can increase the morale and the retention of your employees in your program. And it can also potentially qualify you for additional tax credits, which are different from business deductions on your tax return. So for example, I give Allison a tech reimbursement every single payroll cycle that we process at our firm. And the reason why I do that is because it is a non-taxable income item for her, meaning she gets to keep 100% of that reimbursement every single time it's paid out to her. And simultaneously, I don't owe any employer taxes on it either because of the type of benefit that it is. But I get to, as a business owner, deduct 100% of that business expense on my own tax return, which dwindles down to my personal income taxes that I owe at the end of the year. So she gets to keep 100% of those earnings instead of having taxes taken out of them. I don't owe employer taxes on them, but I get to reap the reward of giving her that income and deduct it on my taxes at the individual level. So it is a win-win for both of us. And with the right strategy, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you can make payroll fun and you can make it an enjoyable experience and something that boosts morale within your own program. So let me show you what actually happened after we made the decision to stop treating payroll like a scary expense and started treating it like a growth strategy for our firm instead. After our first month of having Allison full-time, our firm's revenue jumped by 35%. By month 2, we jumped 46% in our revenue. That is unbelievable still to me to this day when I look back at those metrics. So what we did was we unlocked capacity at that point. We freed up our time to do the work that really mattered to us, and we did it sustainably in the process. See, before that shift, I was stuck. I was wearing every single hat: client work, admin, operations, strategy, marketing. I was constantly juggling all of the deadlines. And even though I knew I needed help, I kept holding back out of fear of the expense and fear of the unknown. But hiring the right person under a clear agreement didn't just take things off my plate, but it actually gave me the space to be the leader that I've always wanted to be led by. And it allowed me to start focusing on bigger business development goals that I had for our firm. We also started to systemize our workflows. And since Allison's hours were capped at 32 hours each week, we had to get intentional about what work she focused on. That clarity forced us to streamline and define what would make our firm the most efficient overall. I want you to really sit with this next statement that I'm going to make. We didn't grow in spite of the payroll expense. We grew because of it. Because let's be honest, there's no prize for being the busiest person in the room. You don't build a scalable business by doing it all yourself. You build it by building and creating capacity. And payroll is oftentimes the missing piece that makes that possible for business owners. And so if you've ever said, I'll hire when I can afford it, I want you to stop saying that. And I want you to ask yourself this question instead. Can I afford to keep stalling where I am right now? Making that little mindset shift from viewing payroll as an overhead line item on a financial report to making it a strategic growth lever changed everything for us, and it very well could change everything for you and your program. One of the things that I say to our clients often is this: if you don't want to pay it in taxes to the government, then pay it to your people. And that's not just a catchy saying. It literally is a mindset. Because when you are running a business, the money is going somewhere, right? The question is, though, who do you want it to benefit? The government or your people? When you invest in your people and their time and their tools and their health and their stability, you're not just being a generous person. You're building a team that is loyal, that is empowered, that is equipped to help you carry your vision forward. When your team feels valued, they perform better. They take ownership. They solve problems. They stick around. They represent your brand with pride. And that saves you thousands in turnover, retraining, and reputation. I think back often on the promises that former employers made to me. The unlimited PTO, the capped hour work week, the work-life balance that was talked about, but none of these things ever were implemented or came to fruition. Those experiences directly shape how I've built my team at Clean Beat Consulting and through Full Throttle Finance. If you're building something that you can't walk away from, something that drains you or something that burns through your people, it's not sustainable. It's just another job at that point. You're not really running a company, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, payroll isn't just about checks and deductions. It's about leadership, it's about clarity, and it's about building something that lasts. And when you take care of your people, you take care of your business. Payroll is a topic that our firm takes very seriously at Full Throttle Finance, which is why we have dedicated an entire section of our Revving Up for Financial Success course specifically designed to help motorsport professionals determine whether they need to contract with an independent contractor or hire a W-2 payroll employee for their program. We discuss the various worker classifications, what those best practices are, and what the potential risks and consequences are that are involved with miscategorizing workers. So to learn more about our Move at Your Own Pace interactive course, please visit our website at www.cleanbeatconsulting.com/full throttle finance. We'll put the link here. And that is really going to do it for today's episode. I hope that you have enjoyed this one-on-one pep talk, because I got another one coming your way next week. And, as always, if you found today's insights valuable, please like, share, post, comment, tag, all of the things that you can on social media. Your support means so much to us. And really, we just want to help as many racers and as many race programs as possible get on the right track for financial success. And as always, if insights that you heard today resonated with you, but you definitely think that you might want some pros like us in your corner, then please utilize the consultations tab on our website to schedule a call so we can talk about how we can get you on the right track to success. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week as we continue to break down finance with a motorsport twist. We'll see you next Friday.